Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Iron Car Gaming, bringing you another deck profile. Today's deck profile is Dark World, or I call it Dark Arm World. Basically, you guys will see why I call this Dark Arm World. I like this deck because it's different, unique, and it's a different twist on how to play Dark World. Without further ado, let's get into it. So since this is a Dark World deck, we're going to start off with Grepher, Dragon Lord of the Dark World. Basically, if you don't know his effect, you can special summon him from the graveyard by targeting one face-up Dark World monster you control, except Grepher, and return the card on your field to your hand, and then special summon Grepher out of the graveyard. If this card was discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, target one card your opponent controls. Destroy that target. If this card was discarded from your hand to your graveyard by an opponent's card effect, look at one random card in your opponent's hand. Then if it was a monster, you can special summon it to your side of the field. Basically, Grepher is an easy way to summon, and it also gets you a free body on the board if it's a monster. Then I play two, if I butcher this name, I apologize, Beggy, Vanguard of the Dark World. Basically, his effect reads is if this card is discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, special summon this card from your graveyard. Basically, just an easy way to get a free body on the board. And I play two, Brow, Huntsman of the Dark World. His effect is if this card is discarded to the graveyard by card effect, draw one card plus another card. If this card was discarded from your hand to your graveyard by an opponent's card effect. So basically this gets you, if you discard it, it's one card, and then if it's discarded by your opponent's card effect, it gets you two cards. So it's a good way to get through your deck pretty quick. And then the reason I call this deck Dark Arm Dark World is because I run 3 Dark Arm Dragons. Now, I know this is different. I know a lot of people don't want to build a deck around just this card, but because you're running Dark World, all the monsters in this deck are dark. You'd be crazy not to play this card at 3 because it would be ridiculous. It's ridiculously easy to get this card on the field, and because this card is now off the ban list, you can, let's say you have 2 of them in your hand and 3 darks in the graveyard, you can bring 2 of these out and practically wipe your opponent's field out just with this card alone. Everybody knows what Dark Arm Dragon does. Normal summoner set must be special summoned from your hand by having exactly 3 dark monsters in your graveyard. Cannot be special summoned by any other way. You can banish 1 dark monster from your graveyard, then target 1 card on the field and destroy it. You can target back row, you can target monsters. You just can clear any problematic card off the field with this card alone. I think you'd be crazy if you're going to play Dark World. You have to play Dark Arm Dragon. Then I am running the Danger Engine because obviously Danger Engine's dark and they're easy to get out on the field with their effects. Danger Bigfoot, you can reveal this card. Your opponent randomly chooses 1 card from your hand, then discard this card, discard the chosen card. Then if the discarded card was not Danger Bigfoot, special summon it from your hand, and if you do, draw a card. If this card is discarded, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, destroy it. You can only use the effect of Danger Bigfoot once per turn. Basically, all the dangers are, if the danger isn't discarded, you can draw a card, and then they all have different individual effects if it is discarded. Then 2 Danger Thunderbird. Thunderbird's effect, if your opponent doesn't choose this by discarding, if this card isn't discarded when your opponent chooses a card, you can special summon it, draw a card. If it is discarded, you can target 1 set card your opponent controls, destroy it. You can only use the card once per turn. So this basically can clear a face down monster, back row, and it's a free +1 if you get it on the field. Then I play 2 Danger Mothman. Same thing, if he isn't chosen for discard by your opponent, you can special summon him, draw a card. If he is discarded, you can have both players draw one card, then both players discard a card. So it's basically a 1-for-1. Only thing I don't like about this card is that it gives your opponent a card, so that card that they draw, they might, you know, get an advantage. They might get a card that will give them an advantage, but you still get to draw. You get to still draw one even though you didn't summon him. That's what I do like about him. Then I play 1 Danger Nessie. Dangers all have the same first effect. If it's not chosen for discard, special summon it, draw a card. If this card is discarded, you can add 1 danger card from your deck to your hand. Basically, it's really dope. You get to choose another danger, any danger. It's not specific. Then 1 Jackalope, same thing. Draw 1 if you get to special summon it, and then if this card is discarded, you can special summon 1 danger monster from your deck in defense position. So basically, if Jackalope gets discarded, you would want to throw Danger Nessie in defense mode. It'll be pretty hard for your opponent to get over a 28k defense normally. Then the last danger I'm playing is Tishinoko. This card is good whether it's discarded or not. If it's summoned, you get to draw 1. If it's discarded, you get to still special summon it back to the field. In my opinion, this card is a must because, you know, it's just a free body on the board. And, you know, who doesn't need extra protection? For the monsters, let's get on to the spells. For spells, since this is mainly a Dark World deck, you're going to play Gates of the Dark World. All Fiend type monsters gain 300 attack and defense. Once per turn, you can banish 1 Fiend monster from your graveyard, discard 1 Fiend monster, then draw a card. Basically, you're powering up all your Dark World monsters. Mainly, you're powering up Grepher, and then by banishing a Fiend from your graveyard, you can discard a Fiend monster and draw 1. So it's a 1-for-1, but at the same time, it gets you a Dark in the field in the graveyard, which can get you out into your Dark Arm Dragon, or if you choose to discard Grepher and you have a Dark World monster on the field, you know, you could basically just special summon Grepher. So this is a great field spell in my opinion. I play it at least at 2 because 3 becomes a little bricky. And then I play 3 Dark World Dealings. Basically, Dark World Dealings is, to call it a 1-for-1 because you draw a card and then it gives your opponent that choice too. But let's say your opponent has a good hand and they draw a card, they now have to sit there and figure out, you know, how they want to play their deck, and they're going to have to discard something good. More pressure on your opponent, in my opinion, than on you. But you still get a card too. Then I play Charge into Dark World. Basically, what this card does is target 1 level 4 lower Fiend monster in your graveyard, special summon that card, then discard 1 Fiend monster. You can only activate this once per turn. So basically, let's say you have Brow or Beggy in the graveyard and you have Grepher in your hand. You're going to summon that one and then discard Grepher and then get Grepher back, and you still... So basically, you don't lose anything by playing this card. I played at 3 because it's going to be a really quick way to constantly get Grepher out. Then I play 3. Allure of Darkness is draw 2, then banish 1 dark monster from your hand. If you do not have a dark in your hand, you send your entire hand to the graveyard. Resolving this card isn't going to be an issue. With the way I play my deck, every monster is dark in my hand, so it's not going to be hard for you to banish a dark monster from your hand. It's also a +2, you know, so there's not really any drawbacks. Then I play 2 Danger Response Team. I play this because I do play a decent sized danger engine. And it's a really good card. Target 1 danger monster you control and 1 monster on the field. Return them to the hand. If this card is in the graveyard, you can discard 1 danger monster, place this card on the bottom of your deck, then draw 1 card. So basically, this can get rid of a problematic monster on the board, whether it's a regular effect monster or an extra deck monster. And then when this card's in the graveyard, you place it at the bottom of your deck, or you discard another danger monster and then place this at the bottom of your deck and then draw a card. So you're not really losing anything, especially if you have Tishinoko in your hand. You discard Tishinoko, or Jackalope. Jackalope gets you a body on the board, and then you also get another +1. Tishinoko, you discard it, gets it body on the board, special summons itself, and you still draw 1. So in my opinion, this card is definitely a plus if you're going to be running any Danger Engine in any deck you're playing. But it benefits me really well in this deck. And then I'm playing 3 Super Polys. Basically, Super Polymerization, discard a card, fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from either side of the field. Most of my fusion targets for Super Poly, they're all dark. So, you know, that I would be using this more on my monsters than my opponent. But if I am playing an opponent that has a lot of darks too, you know, this is a great way to get rid of cards. 100%. You can clear almost any problematic card as long as it's a dark. So this card's definitely worth it in my opinion to run at 3. For the singles, I play 1 Monster Reborn. Everybody knows what Monster Reborn does. You get to bring back in a monster from either graveyard. Lightning Storm, just for back row clearance or monster clearance, depending on what you're up against. But I mainly use Lightning Storm for back row. Then for monster clearance, I'm playing 1 Raigeki. Destroy all monsters on your opponent controls. Can't go wrong with the Raigeki and Lightning Storm. And then I'm playing 1 Card Destruction. Just in case I have a bricky hand and I'm already backpedaling, I can Card Destruction the hand. That way I can get darks in the graveyard. I can get anything I need into the graveyard, and my opponent also loses their hand, and it kind of hits the restart button for both players. But this card's mainly going to benefit you if you end up bricking on your opening turn. So that's why I run that. 2 the Force of Darkness. Target 2 Dark World monsters in your graveyard. Add those targets to your hand. So let's say your Brow and Beggy are in your graveyard, and you have nothing in your hand. You can pop this. That way you get materials, especially if you have a Greffer or both Greffers in your hand. So you know it's a good way to just cycle through the monsters in your graveyard. Only disadvantages is it takes away from getting your Dark Arm Dragon out. And then the 3 of is Dark World Brainwashing. So basically what this card does is when an opponent's monster activates its effect, if you have 3 or more cards in your hand except during the damage step, you can target 1 Dark World monster on the field, return Dark World monster on the field, return it to the hand, and if you do, the activated effect becomes discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand. So it basically helps you get Greffer out on the field. Obviously, you know, Greffer's in the background, so it changes whatever the effect your opponent activates is to discard 1 card from your opponent's hand. So I believe I'm assuming from this text that they're choosing at random. Oh, discard 1 random card. There you go. I didn't see the word random. So yeah, they're randomly discarding a card from your hand. You know, that's basically going to get you a dark in the graveyard or Greffer in the graveyard, and either way, you have nothing to lose by activating this card. And it's a continuous effect. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get on into the extra deck. So, like I said, I run Super Poly because all my Super Poly targets, well, both my Super Poly targets to start my extra deck off are Starving Venom Dragon. Basically, what Starving Venom Dragon does is when he's summoned, you can target 1 special summon card on your opponent's field, and this card gains, I believe it is the attack. It's either all the attack or half the attack. Oh, gain attack equal to that special summon monster's attack. There we go. So basically, you know, you're going to start off with 2,800, and then you're going to go anywhere it takes you as high as the special summon monster's attack is. I've gotten this guy up to 5,000 attack. And, you know, it's pretty hard for your opponent to get around 5,000. Even if it's one turn, you know, your opponent's going to start scrambling for a response really quickly. So that's why I play Starving Venom Dragon. And then I play one Predaplant Drago Stapella. Sorry if I butchered these names, guys. Basically, it's one fusion monster, one dark monster. So basically, you'll super poly with him, and then when you get your next super poly, you'll go into him. You're gonna lose a little bit of attack and defense, but once per turn, quick effect, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Place one Predaplant counter on it, and if its level is 2 or higher, it becomes a level 1. As long as this card has Predaplant counter, negate the activated effect of your opponent's monsters that have Predaplant counters. So basically, you know, you can target a problematic card, place a counter on it, and then you basically, it helps you negate card effects. That's the reason I play him at 1, just to give me a negate. And then the next super poly target is Predaplant Triforium. Sorry, like I said, if I butcher these, I apologize. Triforium's effect is gain attack equal to the original attack of all monsters on the field with a Predaplant counter. You can only use the effect of the following effects of this card once per turn. When your opponent special summons a monster or monsters from the extra deck while you control this fusion summon card, quick effect, you can negate the summon, and if you do, destroy the monster or monsters. If your opponent controls a opponent controls a monster with Predaplant predator counters, you can special summon this card from your graveyard in defense position. So you would basically set up for this guy. You would get predator counters on the board, and then if your opponent controls a monster with a predator counter, so basically you would summon him, get the predator counter out, and then if you ended up summoning him earlier and he's back in your grave, you can special summon him back from the graveyard. I know it's a little complicated setup, but it's totally worth it, because if you can get both those Predaplant monsters on the board, it's going to be pretty hard to get over them. Then I play one Borreload Fusion Dragon. Another super poly target. It requires 2 dark monsters. Quick effect, you can target one monster you control and one card your opponent controls, destroy them. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one dark link monster you control in your graveyard, special summon it, but it cannot activate an effect this turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. So you're basically going to be able to bounce opponents' cards off the field. So let's say you have this and a couple other Dark World monsters or danger monsters. You're going to be able to destroy the dangers. Once per turn, you're going to be able to destroy one of your cards and one of their cards. And then, you know, let's say you do have a Dark Link monster in your graveyard, like IP Masquerena or Ling Karibo or Predaplant Verde Anaconda. You're basically going to be able to get that back on the board with no problem. You just have to wait till your next turn to activate the effect. It's a great way to cycle some of the good Link monsters that are in your deck. Then I play one Abyss Dweller. We all know what Abyss Dweller does. When this card, while this card has a material attached that was originally all water monsters, you control can gain 500 attack. We don't care about that part. At least I don't care about that part, because none of those are in this deck. This is what I care about. Once per turn, quick effect, you can detach one material from this card. Your opponent cannot activate any card effects in the graveyard. So this basically shuts down any tricks or shenanigans your opponent's trying to play in the graveyard. Definitely a way to throw your opponent off their game. I play one Dingirsu, the Orcus of the Evening Star. We all know what Dingirsu does. Basically, his two effects are send a card your opponent controls to the graveyard, attach one of the banished machine monsters to this card as material. So you basically are going to care about the first effect more because you are able to send one card your opponent controls to the graveyard. That's basically it. That's why I played Dingirsu. So for my links, I'm playing one Link Karibo. Just in case, you know, you get stuck or you break, you can at least cover yourself for a turn and protect yourself. Then I play one IP Masquerena. Basically, she's a really great Link too. We all know what she does. During your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect immediately after this card resolves. Link summon one Link monster using materials you control, including this card. You can only use the effect of IP Masquerena once. Once per turn, a Link monster that used this card as a material cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So it not only gives your Link monster protection, it's a quick way to get into a higher Link 2, a Link 2 or higher really quickly. Then I play one Predaplant Verite Anaconda. Basically, I'm running this card because I run 3 Super Poly. If I'm not seeing my Super Polys, I can activate his effect, which his effect changes into Super Poly's effect, and it allows me to get into my extra deck fusions. And then I play Saruja Skulldread. Basically, Saruja Skulldread's effects are this card gains effect based on the number of materials used for Link summoning. It's a Link 4. So if you do 2 materials, if a monster or monsters is normal or special summoned to a zone this card points to, that monster gains 300 attack and defense. 3, if your opponent once per turn during the main phase, you can special summon one monster from your hand. That's not bad. When this card is Link summoned, this is a +4. When this card is Link summoned, you can draw 4 cards, then place 3 cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck in any order. So, you know, basically it allows you to play, it allows you to cycle through your deck and, you know, practically rearrange the whole thing if you keep activating this effect. So that's why I get it. I mainly get it because of the special summon, and for the special summon and the plus 300 attack and defense. And then another dark Link monster we're playing is Topological Bomber. Basically, everybody knows what his effect is. If you summon a monster into any of those Link arrows, it's basically a board wipe. And it gives your opponent 1 square. I can't tell you how many times my opponent's gone to combo off and they unknowingly stick a card in that arrow that's on their side of the field, and they instantly wipe the board. So it's a board reset, and if your opponent's not paying attention to what they're doing, it either stops their combo because they don't want to place a card in that Link zone on their board, or they unwillingly do it and then they just wipe the board. So Topological Ball, and it's a 3k beater, and it's not hard to get a Link 4 out with this deck, not at all. The other Link 4 I play is Boral Sword Dragon. We all know what Boral Sword does. You get this card on the field and that's practically game. And then for my big negate, I play one Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. You know, you basically Link summon her with 4 monsters, you get 4 negates. It's a great way to shut your opponent out. And then for my last monster, I play this card because basically it's not really hard. For me, it's not hard to get this card on the field. You know, you fill your board up with a Link 5, and you know, it's a 5k beater. I've gotten this card out a couple times. It's 5-headed Link Dragon, and his effect is must be Link summoned. If this card is Link summoned using Dark, Earth, Water, Fire, and Wind attributes, You can destroy all cards on your opponent's. You can destroy all cards your opponent controls. Since you are playing an all dark deck, you're not going to be able to activate this. But the reason I play this is because cannot be destroyed by battle with a dark, earth, water, fire, or wind monster. So basically, the only way you can destroy this card by battle is with a light monster or divine. It's unaffected by other card effects. Once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you must banish 5 cards from your graveyard face down. This is not optional, or send this card to the graveyard. So the cost of keeping this card on the field is pretty bad. I won't lie. It's pretty hard. But, you know, if you've been cycling through your deck and the duel's dragged out, you know, it's not going to be hard to banish 5 cards. You know, your opponent can't destroy it by... It can't be destroyed by any of the main attributes. And then it's unaffected by your opponent's card effects. So, you know, if you get this on the board, your opponent's going to be struggling for a response or struggling to get up to 5k or higher to just destroy this monster. That's the reason I play it. It's not hard to get out on the field. It shuts your opponent down, and it just makes it very hard for your opponent to respond to this card. And that's basically it, guys. You know, I hope you guys enjoy the deck profile, and I hope you guys enjoy the deck. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next